Welcome to What's New in Fusion 360 Sculpting. This is where you get to laugh at my artistic skills. As I said earlier, I have been on a 12-month holiday break from Fusion 360, and this is the chance to catch up on all the awesome work that the development team have been doing in that time period. But we're going to slow down. We're going to make sure that no man or woman is left behind. So with that, sculpt, please. Hello everyone, my name is Lars Christensen and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. My goal is to get us all caught up in what's new in Fusion 360 because, let's be honest, unless you're a power user, there's a chance that you missed a couple or maybe you just wondered why you will need any of these. If you like this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, that's okay. Give it a thumbs down and leave me a comment. I'm back and reading the comments. So please go ahead and do that. And also, down in the description area, there's a new way you can reach me by email if you so desire. So with that, let's jump into Fusion 360 and talk about sculpting. All right, so as in the two previous What's New, I am going to add a little bit more on it here. Just because I feel like that some people, especially if you're new, maybe the sculpt environment might be one of those you never really have played around with. And I warn you up front and say that, I am not the best person in this workspace either. This is definitely something, the more you use it, the better you get. But what I've done is I took a picture of my daughter's little rubber duck for bath time, and I have imported these images in as canvases. And I did this in last video. So you can go and watch that and kind of see how you've done it. So what I've done is I brought one in here as kind of the front view. There is also, if I turn another one on over here, we have a front view. And I've kind of just lined them up the best I could size-wise. Just kind of scaled them up to what I think that the side view kind of fit very well with it, with the top view. And then there's also a kind of a top view here. And I just took these pictures with my cell phone. It's not the greatest quality, but it should be good enough for us to to kind of have some fun with, hopefully. And hopefully you'll learn a couple of tricks or two. If you are already familiar with the sculpt environment, then maybe this video is not for you. But all right, let's dive into it here. And I'll show the what's new functions as we are going along. I'm going to go ahead here and just hide our two of them, the front or the front facing one will be the left side and the top view for a second. And we're going to jump into the sculpt environment or create form environment sitting up here. So I'm in the standard design menu and I'm just going to go ahead and create new form, and you get different options in here. And again, if this is a new workspace for you, just lean back, sit down, see kind of like what you can do with it. Maybe you can pick up a couple of tricks. And I'll highlight some of the new functions as we're going along. The main thing is that up here we have some, I don't know what we call this, primitive shapes. We already have some existing shapes. And then the biggest thing is this modify drop down here. There's a lot in here. We're going to be using some of the different functions in here. And this is really kind of like the toolbox for this here. I'm going to start out by just creating a box. So I'm going to left click on that. I'm going to select the kind of the top plane here. And I'm going to sketch out what's going to be like a rectangle. And I know that I want to keep it around 100 millimeters, and I don't really care about the width, so I'm just going to hit OK to that. And we end up getting this box. Now, let me hide this side. You will see me click over here all the time. So there's generally three different ways that we can manipulate this one in here. Right click, and you have this edit form tool that comes up, and there's three kind of ways that I normally do it. One is to just select the face, and when you select the face, you get this little dialog. You've probably seen that before. You can grab a arrow and you can start pulling that way. You can grab the up arrow, you can start pulling that way. What you many times will see me do is I actually grab this little box here, and then you can kind of drag it wherever you kind of want it. And also be aware of that this little sucker right here on the corner is actually a scaling function, what can be kind of handy too. So that's how that little triad works. But you can use it on a face, like what we have here. You can also select an edge, and kind of works the same way, but now instead of selecting the whole face, you're only pulling on that edge. Control undo to undo that. Or the last one that I use a lot is actually a point. So now you're only pulling in that point. That is the general ways that we are working with this sculpt environment. Now another thing that, as I go up to kind of like an isometric thing, another thing that is nice to know is that symmetry can be extremely helpful in this workspace, and you will see me turn that on and off from time to time. It's sitting right up here. It's kind of a mirror function, and what it means is if I click on that function, then you would actually be selecting two faces, and whatever faces you select, in between there will be the mirror line. So if I select this face and this face, you see that I get kind of like a green line around here, and that will give me symmetry around that axis. What means, to show it easily, if I right click and hit edit form and I select this face and I drag this arrow here, you can kind of see that I get the symmetry going that way. Same thing if I went up and selected here, I would get the symmetry on both those sides. So that green line kind of like becomes the divider for symmetry. So that is a good thing to kind of like know when you're working in this environment. All right, so I'm going to turn our side view back on here, and what you will normally do is that you will start kind of grabbing things and start moving these things around. So if I right click and hit edit form, I could select this edge here and drag that little square up, and you can see how I can kind of work with the tail. And I can grab a point and you can try to move it. But the cool thing about sculpt is you can see everything is kind of staying tangent. So whenever I select something, everything is staying tangent to it. So I can kind of start dragging things around. And that's what you're doing in this workspace. You're really dragging things. So now I'm kind of trying to match this shape here with my silhouette of this rubber duck. Now, as I'm getting down here to the tail where I started out, I can see that it's getting a little difficult for me to kind of get this arc here. So you can insert edges. So let me just go up in an isometric view here. So what I can do is you can go into modify and you can insert more edges to this. Now I have the symmetry on, so this line actually also going to happen over here. But what you will notice is that when I'm clicking, okay, I'm just doing this by eye. When I'm placing this line here, you will see that everything changes shape. Let me insert another one. Right click, repeat insert edge. So now I can select this edge and hit OK. You will see how everything updates in relation to that because it's constantly keeping this continuity in this workspace. What is great, but it also means, and this is where the more time you spend in here, the better you're going to get. It also means that all the adjustments that I had done into this point could potentially be ruined because I'm inserting in more lines. So you will find people when they are working in this workspace in edit form that you many times find yourself going ahead and kind of reorganizing things after you have inserted a few things, because you kind of almost have to do that. So I guess that my point with this is that you kind of almost have to rough it in and then kind of come back later on and insert more points and finding out kind of like how you want to work with this. Now, a new thing that came in this year, so you've seen me now using this edit form quite a bit, and I think you kind of got a feeling about how I can pull with it. Well, we actually also now, in the edit form sitting right here in the modify, there's also now an edit curve. So this is a brand new tool in this. And what that will do is it would actually create more like if you're familiar to working with splines. So what I can do is if I select this edge and hold down Control and I select this whole, almost like a spline edge here. Let me turn the dock off for a second. You get spline handles like you maybe have been seeing before, like if you're working with splines. So now I can actually kind of control the shape by dragging these handles instead, and it works more like a spline than it does when you are just pulling with it, and can give you maybe a little bit more control as you're working with this. So this is new, and I think that's kind of super cool that you can use this, especially if you're familiar with splines. I think that you will like that this tool is here. So that's what's new, that you can now edit by curve and not by creating these different points. Now back to kind of the introduction of this. So this here, it's not perfect, but I kind of like the shape of this and kind of happy with this. Now what you will notice is that if I turn on our top view and we go and look at that this looks nothing like the shape, the shadow in here. So this is a perfect example of when you start messing around with this. Even if we turn on the front, and we maybe go and look at the front view here, we can also see here that we are definitely not following these. So this is, again, what we just worked on was the side view. Now where we are looking at it in the front, we're going to have to edit everything again. So I'm going to do that just because I want to show you. So I'm going to go in here and select some areas in here to work with. So maybe I go in and select kind of these faces here and kind of start dragging that around a little bit. So what I'm thinking is that this rubber duck, it kind of looks like it has some shoulders right here. Now these wings, I might try to do those as a separate kind of, that would maybe be a separate entity, right? I'm kind of just working with the front here, and that maybe lines up pretty good with the body. And then I could always add some additions to this here. Now if we go and look at the back, that's a wide connection for the back of a duck. Again, maybe I would go in and insert some edges, maybe from here. I can select two edges here. You maybe insert some edges here. Hit OK. Now again, that updates everything, what can sometimes throw you off, but that might give me enough to kind of start making what I would think would be more of what I would be looking for here. Maybe we kind of make it a little narrower. Select, right? Kind of bring that up a little bit on the back there. So it looks like that. If we go up and look at the top view, so we kind of have the wings there. That definitely shows me that I gotta do something around here. Now again, this is the area where I could just be spending so much time trying to figure out kind of how I wanna line all this up here. And this is definitely where practice makes master. Another thing I want to show you that is a kind of a neat tool. So now I kind of almost have like this, the chest is almost, it's not out enough. Another tool that can be really handy is to actually, you can change display modes in here. And that can give you a little bit of a nice little handle. Maybe I need to come back to this a little bit later. But if we go into display mode and we select this box selection, we were here. If you select box selection, then you kind of get this box here, and that can actually kind of help you to find out exactly where maybe you need to pull some things back. See if we can maybe let's go back to display mode and see that maybe pulled out this so it wasn't so sunken in. I probably still want to do something around here, I'm thinking. Oops. Gotta make sure you hit the right box here. Still think this needs to be a little narrow. All right, I'm gonna leave this right here. It's definitely not our perfect duck body, but let's just move on here. I kind of wanted to show a couple of other what's new things, and like I said, could simply finding myself just sitting here all day modifying this. All right, another thing I wanted to show is I can't help myself. Another trick I wanted to show with this is that now if we wanted to insert the head here, we could go in and use the quad ball here. And what's going to happen is I'm going to select the plane to do it on. So I'm going to select this plane here. And I'm getting kind of this box here. And let's just right click and do edit form. And select that. Ooh, that might be a good thing to show. So I don't know if you guys knew this trick or not. If you select by left clicking from left to right, you see how the color here is like orange, where if I'm doing it from left to right, then it's yellow. You see that the color of the box? So inside here it's orange, here is yellow. If you didn't know this is super helpful. So if you do orange box, then anything that is within the box will be selected. So let go right now. Then everything within that box gets selected. If I do yellow, then anything it touches will be selected. So that's a good way to kind of like select this. So let's say I want to select the whole thing, but it's a little bit hard. Now I can probably select it right there because I can get underneath it. But if I couldn't, it would be good enough for me just to do this and I can select the whole thing, just so you know. All right, let's scale this one up to about there. And I'll get to the next what's new in a second. So I've created, let's turn the canvas up. So now we have a head and we have this thing here. But it is now, like we would think in standard design mode, this is two bodies. So if we want to combine the two, then we can actually go in here and we can select, I'm just going to select these bottom faces here. Hold down Control and select these bottom faces. If we hit delete, you can actually delete those, and now it's hollow. So now it's a surface body. If you watched last week's videos, you would have seen that now it became if it's not a sculpt environment that is enclosed, the bottom here, if I hit OK, will become a solid. But this one will become a surface. Let me just do that. So I'm going to click OK. And it's going to solve everything. And you will see that this here is a body because that was enclosed. But this is a surface body because that is wasn't enclosed. We made it hollow. So just so you kind of keep that in mind here. All right. So let's make these two come together. But one of the problems by doing that is that you really want the same amount of sections that you have up here to have down here. So I'm actually going to go in and kind of split this up. So I'm going to go in and insert a couple. Oops, I had a edge selected. I'm going to go ahead and insert one edge there. Okay, right click. Now again, you see I'm doing that. You will, when I do that, insert another edge. The shape changes because I'm inserting more points. There's not really any way to avoid that. But what this will let me do is, if I do this, like this, it looks a little crazy. We'll adjust that in a second. What this will should let me do is it should let me kind of match up edges to each one. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Move this one back. So what it really means is that if I delete this face here, oops, Wow. Hang on. Insert this edge again. Okay. What I was trying to do was I was trying to move this point here back a little bit, like that. And then if I delete this face, hit delete on my keyboard, so that goes away, I can start looking at this edge could match up with this edge. And if I just want to make it a little bit easier to look at, I could select this point and drag that over a little bit. So I kind of like can start making count. So this edge to this edge to this edge. And then I probably also need to delete that face here. Delete that face. So now let's see. This edge to this edge. This edge to this edge. This edge to that. And then this last one to that. That will make it all match up. Now I'm going to get rid of the symmetry because that's going to mess everything up. So I'm going to go into symmetry, drop down, and I'm just going to say clear symmetry. So I'm just going to select this body and the green line will go away. So now there's no symmetry anymore. So one of the tools we have in here is that we can merge edges. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to double click on this edge. If I double click, it will select the full chain. And go down to the second one and double click that edge. And then I can hit OK. And then we will see that those gets merged. Now again, when I do that, that messes up kind of our neck here a little bit. You will see that it became one body when I did that. But we could work with this. If I just go in and say insert edge, and double click. So select that chain, hit OK. I could do that again. Right click, insert another edge, double click so it select that whole chain and drag that one down. Hit OK. You will see that it kind of starts pulling everything in. Then I could go back to edit form, double click. Maybe I select this face. Whoops. Maybe just select this whole face here around here. Like this. And we could now try to go in and we could either just grab the arrow, that will move everything. We could hit the scale and then we could kind of pull it in a little bit like that. All right, so here we have the head here. Now this is still not very pretty, but I want to show you another new tool that came inside of the Sculpt environment, and that is this straighten tool right here. So the way that works is we're actually going to open a sketch right in the Sculpt environment, and I'm just going to select that front face. I'm going to hit L for line, and I'm just going to draw a line up here. It's just a sketch line that is now running all the way through here. We can use that to actually pull these different points together if we want to start modifying this. Because we have added all these different things, this whole model have kind of like been pulled together a little bit, right? So we can go in here and say straighten, and then we could go in, there's different options in here. There's just a fit function, but there's actually a parallel to line. So if I select that sketch line and then select this T-spline vertices, you will actually see that it's going to start trying to pull these lines as close as it possibly can to kind of make them parallel to that line. That's a super cool new tool. And when you don't need this anymore, you can just delete it. But let me just go in and do that straighten again. So that's sitting down here in the modify. I'm going to select that same line, and you will see I can do the same thing over here. It was literally try to pull these points parallel to that line. So that's super good and can kind of straighten out some of this. It also, of course, works if you're on a side view here. You can kind of start pulling things together. So that's another thing that is what new. Another thing I like to do when I modify things like this, personally, sometimes I actually like to go out of form, because that will give you something like this where you get a warning. And the reason I'm getting a warning is actually that there's some overlapping geometry in here. Now what you can do in Fusion is you can go into repair body, select the body, and then if you hit the auto repair, you can set a tolerance, you will actually see that they will try to fix it. And then when I go out now, then it's good. So just kind of giving you some of these tools here. Now again, so we applied the head here, and I showed you how we can edit by curve and we can straighten some of these edges. Now I'm gonna go back in here and just turn our dock back on here, and I'm gonna, before we move on, I think I'm just gonna try to make see if I can maybe make this a little bit more what we maybe kind of would like it to be, right? So it's going to keep a lot of this. Same here. This back end here got pulled up a little bit. I'm just kind of going around on this view here. You know what, I think that the head is not completely round, but I think you will forgive me. What if we go to the front view and we look at it from the front? We definitely need to do something with these wings. Now let's look at this. It looks pretty good. Let me turn symmetry back on. That should probably have been on before. Let's go ahead here and look at it from the front here. I think I would like to pull this up and make it a little bit more like this. And again, keep on repeating myself, but this is your option to kind of work with this to the best of your capabilities. Now it definitely got a lot thinner, didn't it? Trying to go out here. Hold that there. Looks like these top ends here became very to work a little bit more on some of this. Like I said, this is definitely more practice than anything. Let's try to turn that back on and see how that looks. Actually looks, I think I'm gonna leave that there, and then maybe I'll come back and play a little bit more with this at another time. The last thing I wanted to kind of show on this thing here was because, so I showed you kind of how you got started, and we added the head, and I kind of showed you how to do that. Another thing I think is really powerful in here before this is becoming too long is I wanted to kind of show you how we can work with this as a combination of what we somewhat are used to, and that's maybe going into, if I turn the dock back on, let's look at this beak here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a flat plane. So before we created a box and a circle, now I'm just going to create a flat plane here, and I'm really just going to sketch on that same top face here. I'm just going to draw over here, right? So I'm making like a flat little thing right here. Now I'm going to right click, edit form, and then now I can literally drag up this bead to wherever I think I want it. So I'm going to put it somewhere up here. I'm actually going to make it go into the head of it. And if I go to the side view, it is looking like it's about center, so that's good. I'm going to hit OK on that. So that's there. Now it looks a little long. Right click, edit, select these. We can pull it back to about where that is there. So now we have something that could be consider the beak. We'll just select. So this is still, I'll make sure it's all the way in the inside of here. But it's just a flat kind of a plane. But what we could do was, if we hide the main body, so we're just back here, we could right click, edit form, and we just select these 3 points and go and drag up at it. We could actually kind of create the round beak there. That's my beak. And then be aware of that. So this is almost like just a surface. Just like we have in solid, we can go and we can thicken this. We can go and we can select this, and we can add a thickness. So let's go -1 millimeter here, maybe 1.5. These things should be a little thicker, and we now have added some thickness to it. So now that will become a solid. Another thing we have in here is we can crease or uncrease. So if I go in here and I select this area right there, see how now I can select these edges, and it actually uncreases these edges right here on our beak. So making them actually somewhat round, like we would think of. Hit OK. So now it actually starts looking a little bit more like one. Right click, edit form. What would happen if I select these 2 under faces here and pull down? Then I'm actually giving it a little bit more, some more thickness here. Turn the rest of the body on. We can kind of see that there. If we turn on the canvas, we can see that it's a little bit higher maybe than it should be. I'm going to wrap this up in just 2 seconds. Bear with me. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to go and take this body here. I'm going to do a Control-C, Control-V. Now I got a copy of that body. And one of the things that is kind of neat about, I think, about this environment is that it's very easy to kind of work with. So if I right click and say move copy, I can actually just spin this around. So now I'm making our under beak. So let's just move that up a little bit. And maybe we rotate it a little bit. Maybe move it in here. And it's actually smaller on our picture. It's okay. We can right click, edit form, and just select that whole body. Select that for a second. And then we could grab these and we could scale it down a little bit. And that might look decent. Now when I hit OK here, and you will see we're ending up with 3 bodies out here. Now this doesn't look very pretty right now. I would agree with you with that. But that's because we're looking at it right now with a visual style that is shaded with visible edges. In real life, we're probably looking at it with shaded edges, and then it starts maybe, it's still not great, but you get what I'm saying. Then it maybe looks a little bit better. Let me just turn it back to a shaded with visible edges here, because we still have something to do here. We have 3 bodies. Well, you can just use the standard design, and we can literally join all these bodies together, and then they become one. So now it's one body like we would, and we could actually go in here maybe and try to see if we can add a fillet to it. So now we can actually add a fillet all the way around the beak here. Let's see if we can also add one around this one. Like that. And we could literally use the standard fillet tool to work with this. So this is one of the things that I think is important to know, is that these tools out here works when we get into a body. So to finish this up, I'm going to go to Visual Style, go back to the shaded, and it's not perfect, but for a few minutes, that's about the best I can do. Let's go in here, and I'd already preset some colors, but let me just delete those and show you. Actually, sorry. Show you how we can do that. So if I take this one here, let me delete it. All I did was I went in here and I searched yellow, and it gave me yellow. I think I paid a yellow matte. I pulled that on the whole body. That looks like that. Then I right click here and I duplicated it over here. And then whatever that one is, that is the dot. I right click and hit edit. And then up on the color here, we can actually go ahead and make one that is a little orange. Hit done to that. And then instead of doing bodies, I can do faces. And now we can drag that potentially onto whatever faces we want that on. All right, I hope that this might have been the long way around for you to ever watch a What's New video, but I thought this was kind of cool. Maybe you hopefully learned something. There's one last new function in Sculpt I want to show you, but I'm going to have to go over and show you that. I think that would be best shown on a generative design part. So let's just finish this up. And then you can leave me a comment if you haven't fallen asleep. And hopefully, some of you guys, this made you wanted to try Sculpt. Send me your, would love to see what you create here. So that is my my lame attempt here. It's about as good as I'm going to get it. Continue working with it. And at any point, you could go right click down here, right? Hit edit form, and now I'm back. And because they were not combined, now I'm back to here. So I could keep on working with these different ones. All right, I'm gonna get out of this and say that was my attempt to show you some sculpting and some what's new. The last thing I want to show you, I want to save this. Hit save. Maybe I come back and play around with this a little bit more. Let me go into my data panel, and let me just go to my team folder in here. I haven't switched my single user over yet. And in here, I just did a series of videos that you maybe have seen going from Inventor into Generative Design and Fusion and go back again. And the last function I want to show you that is what's new in Sculpt, I think is probably the most powerful one for anything in here in Generative Design. So this part here is a robot gripper, and it looks funny because I never turned this back to shadow visible edges. So this is a robot gripper that I did with Generative Design. And one of the things, and Generative Design also outputs things in either 2D or organic 3D like this. So here you will see there's these construction pillars. A new function in here is a Cylindrify. And I don't think that's a word. It is a word. Cylindrify, is that a word? So I can select that. Now, I want to show you a tool that you may or may not use. So we have the selection box up here that we used before, right? Orange, yellow. Have you ever tried to go in and select to paint? Paint is actually pretty cool. Now it almost works like a paintbrush. You can just paint all the areas that you want. It's a kind of a fun way to select. Like sometimes it's not the right solution, but for something like this where we have all these different sections, this is actually a pretty cool way to select. So select this. Now, there's a lot of calculations going on in the background right now, so this might just take a second for it to calculate. But pretty much what this Cylindrify does is that it will straighten out these columns, as you will see in just in a second here. It will all go straight. Wait for the program. Don't hit close program. Just hit wait for the program to respond. It's just because I double clicked a couple of times. I wanted to hurry up, so that's gonna take a second. But while that is running, I know this was a long way around showing you the straighten function, the data by curve function, and the Cylindrify option. But I truly hope that going in and doing it, the what's new this way, at least hopefully makes you leave with something. All right, there you go. You see that it turned in. It had over 408 of these that it turned into to become straight here. Again, you let me know in the comments area below if this is just way too much. Hopefully you're picking something up. Hopefully this inspires you to do something. I definitely appreciate you taking the time, for everyone who's left, to watch these. I'm going to end it with that. So we covered last week, and the week before, we covered what was new in sketching and in modeling. Now we have the sculpting. Now maybe we do sheet metal the next week, maybe. Thumbs up if you like this. Thumbs down if you don't. That is okay. And leave me a comment. And also don't forget, down in the description area, you'll find a new way to connect with me by going to larschristensen.org/contact me. I hope you have an awesome day. Take care, folks.